Every year, thousands of dollars are spent on fertilizer just to keep pastures productive. But here in this diverse native stand, there's a free fertilizer factory. A lot of factors are working together to make this a resilient, functioning ecosystem forage production tool without the use of fertilizers. The first secret is in this. What do you think I've got in this? Well, let's look. You see the massive size of that root system? Here we've got this grass. This is a big blue stem grass, and this is the actual size of this plant when they dug it up. They have the top of the plant up there that they had when it was growing, and then they dug that root system up. These root systems can go deep, deep, deep. I've seen them where they've dug them up and they're actually 20 feet deep. It was an Indian grass root system. That's amazingly deep. Now it all depends on the soils that you're on, but can you imagine how much soil this plant can explore with those root systems? How much nutrients it can bring up from down deep that shallower rooted pasture plants, a lot of our common pasture plants like fescue, Bermuda grass, Caucasian bluestem, these are not deep rooted plants. But with plants like this, we can explore a lot of soil, and we can explore soil very deep. And a lot of times there's a nutrient level that's higher down in the soil, especially if there's like bedrock or parent material down there. You know, that soil the nutrients haven't been used out of that as much. So if we can explore that, bring that up, and it actually can be shared with other plants later in the life cycle. So this is the first part of having a fertilizer factory that's just natural in your grassland, is be able to go deep to get those nutrients. Let's explore the next part of it. The deep roots may explore the depths of the soil and bring up minerals, but they won't help us with nitrogen much. And so then we're looking at other plants. The legumes are famous for these. These are native legumes. You may be familiar with things like clovers and, sweet clover, red clover, white clover, that sort of thing. Soybeans are a legume. Those are famous, but these are native legumes, and there's a whole host of them. There's ones for wet soils and dry soils and in between soils. Ones for in the shade, there's ones for in the sun. But these legumes are what are going to bring nitrogen into the ecosystem. That's what we typically think of anyway. And I've actually got a little secret to tell you that it's not just legumes, but we'll hold that for a moment while we discuss these legumes. This is a wild senna. This one in the middle is a sensitive briar. And if you're grazing animals and you think it's a little briary, if you think they won't like it, you thought wrong. That's actually quite a palatable forage to them. And it actually has this ability to close its leaves up, which it's done because I picked it and touched it. It's an anti-herbivory response. And so it's trying to hide, in essence, from the grazing animal. And then this here is a partridge pea. All of these are native legumes. This one's annual. These two are perennials. Native legumes, and it's not the legume itself. It's not the roots of this plant that are going to fix that nitrogen. The air is a lot nitrogen, like, 70-80% nitrogen. And so there's a lot of it here. This big blue stem plant cannot make any use of the nitrogen in the air. And so what happens is there's a little bacteria that lives on the roots of these legumes. And it's a symbiotic relationship. It will fix the nitrogen. It can take nitrogen from the air and convert it, but the plant feeds that rhizobium or that bacteria. And so you've got this symbiotic relationship. Both are giving to each other, and they're both happy as a result. They're living together in harmony. And so that's what's happening to bring nitrogen from the air into our grassland, is we need to not only have the deep roots, but we've got to have some nitrogen fixing plants. Now I told you it wasn't just legumes like this partridge pea that are doing this. Some of the worm season grasses actually do this as well. It's been shown that Eastern Gamagrass and Switchgrass both do this. There are other forbs that are nitrogen fixers that are not legumes, such as New Jersey tea and redroot. So both of these have the ability to fix nitrogen too. So the native grassland, one, it doesn't need as much nitrogen as a lot of typical pasture grasses. So it's a lot more thrifty with nitrogen with other elements as well. But it has the ability to produce it in a whole host of plants, not just in the legumes. So when we talk about legumes and we talk about their ability to fix nitrogen, we're looking at those, the rhizobium are living in what we call a nodule, which is a little bump on the roots. And sometimes they're quite round, sometimes they're more finger-like and longer than they are wide. But that little bump right there is where the magic is happening. So there's a bacteria that lives in there, and the plant is feeding it sugars, and that bacteria is taking nitrogen from the air in the soil basically and giving it to the plant. And so we've got that symbiotic relationship going on. So you say, well, it's great that that plant can get nitrogen, that Eastern Gamagrass, that switchgrass, that partridge pea, those legumes. It's great that they can get nitrogen, but how does our big blue stem, which is not known to fix nitrogen, have a symbiotic relationship to fix nitrogen? How does it get this? And this is the story for the nutrients. Like, I guess we can flip that too and say this big blue stem is going way deep in the soil. We saw its root system. This partridge pea is not. How is it going to bring up the elements that it can reach, the nutrients that it can reach, and share them with this partridge pea? Because it doesn't do any good if the partridge pea has all the nitrogen and this has all the, say, phosphorus or calcium. We need this shared. And so this is where nutrient cycling comes into the grassland as part of the fertilizer equation. So what happens is this one has a high nitrogen content. Well, the plant is going to, this particular plant's an annual, it's going to die completely. Any of the nitrogen that's still in it is going to become available to other plants when it's decomposed by microbes. If you have one of the perennials, say this wild senna, same thing is going to happen, except it's not going to die this year. It's just the top that is going to die back. The root system is going to live, but when this dies back, all of this is available for the microbes to chew it up, and then that nitrogen can become available for, say, this big blue stem plant to do its thing. Same thing here. If this has a high calcium level, high phosphorus level, whatever that element is that each plant might have the specific ability to get because of its root system depth, because of so many factors, that becomes available by this nutrient cycling. So we're basically just recycling it to the next plant next year, or even better, some of these elements can actually escape. So they like leach through the soil, they just run through the soil. And so we want to capture them back up when it becomes available after that microbe chews it up. And it's sitting there in the soil, we want a plant to suck it up as quick as we can so that it's not lost from our ecosystem, from the dynamics. We don't want to lose nutrients and fertilizer, right? That's expensive. So that's where it really helps in your grassland to have the warm season stuff and the cool season stuff, such as the native cool season grasses like the wild rye and the bulrushes, sedges, foul manna grass, these sort of plants, because they are able to use nutrients in different seasons. If all we have is big blue stem out here, not only are we not getting some nutrients because we don't have a fully functioning grassland, but there's no nutrient, it's not doing much through the whole winter. Come frost, it is brown like a piece of toast. The roots may be doing a little bit more than the above ground. The above ground's doing absolutely nothing, but then it really doesn't start doing much again that we can see until come spring, come, late April, May, something like that. So warm and cool seasons are another part of this, so that we've got those nutrients cycling, being sucked up, being used, being recycled, waiting there for the next plant in the next season. As I talk about those nutrients being recycled, I'm skipping a whole important part of this, which is the soil life, the soil microbes. They are a huge part of this being a fertilizer factory. And so they're doing recycling, but also they can go out and acquire nutrients from the soil. So like mycorrhizal fungi, they're most famous for this. They will hook up with a plant like a legume does, or like the rhizobium, like a legume, that relationship we talked about with the roots where they get the nitrogen, the bacteria gets the nitrogen, the plant gives it sugars. Okay, very similar thing with these mycorrhizal fungi, only it's other elements that are also like phosphorus and zinc and even water. So this big blue stem, in all likelihood, he's hooked with the mycorrhizal fungi. And these fungi are a communication network. They also go out and get nutrients and bring them in. They can explore more soil than the roots of that plant can alone. The grassland is producing nutrients, it's acquiring those nutrients, and it's also recycling those nutrients. It's that soil life. And you really need, like, there's these principles of soil health. If you want to think about the soil life, I like to go back to those and think about them. You want green plants growing in all seasons. You don't just want things growing in the summer. Big blue stem is great. It's only great for certain months. It's great for the soil life during certain months. We want plants growing in all seasons. So we've got plants growing in all seasons. We need roots in all depths. We need the roots exploring and growing at different times of the season, minimize disturbance. We want to keep that soil life healthy. Having a healthy plant community, a diverse plant community, is a huge part of that. So if you'd like to get growth like this on your grass, on your pasture, all without fertilizer, this has not been fertilized for a number of years. When this was in fescue, 10 plus years ago, we had fertilized, but we probably hadn't fertilized it for 10 years when it was in fescue. This has not been fertilized in a long, long time, and we can get this sort of growth production. And if you're thinking, oh, well, yeah, it looks good today, but what about in the spring? We've got native cool season grasses mixed in here, native forbs and legumes mixed in here too. And so we're producing forage spring through fall and having some for the winter as well. It's a whole nother topic for a whole nother video. But if you'd like to fire your fertilizer, man, and produce forage like this, it can be done. But it doesn't just happen by circumstance. You need to study over how to make it happen. We've got timelines on our website for how to do some conversions. If there's not one that covers your situation, we do a lot of custom timelines. Get with us. Also, we have an article. If you're like, does this really pay back? There's an article that we have on our website. It's a little bit of cowboy math, we call it. And Ponder and Pete, that's who we named the little character on this farm. He does some math to figure out, does this really pay for itself to convert to this? Because it takes money to convert to this, right? We're a seed company. We know it costs money. It costs us money to produce it. Costs you money to buy it. And so, does it really pencil back? Spoiler alert, the cattle prices have, like, I don't know, they're hugely bigger. When we did that math, they were a fraction of what they are now. So they're a lot bigger than they were then. And input prices have went up as well. Seed prices haven't really changed a whole lot. They may have went up a little bit, but nothing compared to what cattle have. And even then, the payback is just over a year with those old numbers. And so study that over and think about if this might be a choice that you'd like to take. If it is, we'd love to chat with you about your project. What are the steps you need to do? Check out our website for resources as well. I'm Elizabeth with Hamilton Native Outpost, where we raise native grass and wildflower seed so you can have a grassland like this that produces forage with no fertilizer. Thanks.
We at Hamilton Native Outpost make these videos to share the unique knowledge that we have gained from over 40 years of working with native plants as we raise and sell native grass and wildflower seeds. If you found this video helpful, we need your help to get the message out. Please subscribe, share, like, and comment. It helps others to find us. Thank you.